In a future where Earth has turned into a desolate wasteland, once thriving human civilization now lies in ruins, with only a handful left. Among them is Juliet, a woman driving away from the city's remains. She belongs to a group of survivors who somehow endured the catastrophe. Her mission: scavenging for food supplies, prepared with weapons, communication gear, and a photo of her beloved, a constant source of strength. As Juliet pauses at a rest area, seeking sustenance, an eerie sound disrupts the silence. An ominous signal. Instinctively terrified, she hurries back to her car, unveiling the presence of something perilous and chilling that roams the post-apocalyptic Earth. Juliet reaches out to the group's leader, Harry, sharing her fruitless search for supplies. Disheartened, she disconnects after Harry's warning to avoid peril and return to the bunker before nightfall, emphasizing the importance of obeying orders. To expedite her return and conserve dwindling radio battery life, Juliet opts for a shortcut. Along this path, she stumbles upon a truck housing a severely injured man. The injured man pleaded with Juliet to end his agony, but she declined, proposing that he let his blood out to spare bullets for a trapped creature within the truck, a being known as the Reaper. The man mentioned canned food in the truck, along with the Reaper confined inside. After dispatching the Reaper, Juliet gathered the canned supplies and left the man, who had passed away. Speeding toward the bunker became crucial, as nightfall brought increased Reaper activity. However, an unforeseen distraction led to an unexpected accident. Juliet's focus shifted as her cherished photo fluttered away in the wind. The storyline then shifts back a few years before the apocalyptic catastrophe. Juliet was portrayed at an art exhibition, deeply engrossed in admiring a painting. A man named Jack, who managed the exhibit, attempted to strike up a conversation with her. Despite his efforts, Juliet, there solely for shelter and free food from the rain, brushed him off bluntly. Nevertheless, Jack persisted, urging Juliet to observe a painting with him. Despite her initial rudeness, Jack continued to explain, gradually fostering a connection. As the exhibition concluded, Jack invited Juliet to his lavish home, and she reluctantly agreed. Astonished by Jack's opulent abode, they bonded over wine, delving into their respective backgrounds. Juliet found solace in Jack's company until he probed about her family, causing her discomfort and prompting her to abruptly leave. Their paths crossed again, this time at a club, each accompanied by acquaintances who seemed familiar. Intrigued, Jack covertly trailed Juliet, discovering her involvement in drug dealing. Despite this revelation, Jack persisted, trailing her to her apartment, where he witnessed Juliet's eerie circumstances living among thugs. Despite Juliet's outbursts, Jack offered his help, leaving disheartened but unwavering in his compassion. Several weeks later, Juliet, bearing a bruised and battered visage, sought refuge at Jack's doorstep. Without hesitation, Jack tended to her wounds, providing care without probing for explanations. The following day, as Juliet awoke feeling better, they shared breakfast. However, tensions arose when Jack forbade Juliet from seeking drugs, leading to her destructive outburst. Jack remained calm and empathetic, refusing to yield until Juliet relented, an initial juncture in their evolving tale. Several months later, Jack made a significant leap in their relationship by purchasing a new home he deemed perfect for Juliet. This gesture both excited and unsettled Juliet, signaling a substantial step forward in their romance. They vowed unwavering support for each other. Jack eagerly showed Juliet around, envisioning one of the rooms as a space where their future children would thrive. However, Juliet, plagued by self-doubt, felt unworthy of motherhood. Despite Jack's reassurances that their togetherness would surmount all challenges, Juliet remained hesitant. Their joy over the news of Juliet's pregnancy soon turned into tragedy when their newborn passed away a few months later. Allegedly, it was due to Juliet's past drug use. This devastating loss deeply impacted their relationship. Juliet's descent into depression compounded their struggles. Jack, unchanged in his devotion, attempted to comfort her, tirelessly striving to uplift Juliet. However, Juliet, immersed in her anguish, failed to recognize Jack's own limits. Juliet's harsh words prompted Jack to end their relationship. Sometime later, in an inebriated state, Juliet watched a news report detailing a disaster caused by a chemical release in the subway, which claimed numerous lives. Fearing for Jack's safety, Juliet remembered his inclination to find solace by riding the subway. Juliet rushed to the hospital upon learning about the chemical disaster, fearing for Jack's safety. Arriving there, she was dismayed to discover that Jack had suffered severe throat burns from the chemical exposure. rendering him unable to speak. Despite his critical condition, Jack conveyed his love for Juliet through written messages on a board. He urged her not to give up on their situation, expressing his unwavering affection. Juliet reciprocated these sentiments, deeply moved. Tragically, the following day, Jack passed away due to the effects of the chemical exposure. The scene then shifted back to the present, showing Juliet awakening after the accident. She realized her broken leg, but found her weapon a few meters away from the car. Knowing that nighttime was perilous due to the Reapers, Juliet strived to reach her weapon. After much effort, Juliet managed to release her leg from the steering wheel, bravely resetting the broken bone and tending to it with alcohol and bandages. The excruciating pain was unbearable, yet Juliet's gratitude for her survival overshadowed it all. Juliet attempted to contact Harry using the communication radio, but dismayingly, there was no signal. As approaching footsteps raised her alertness, the radio suddenly beeped, indicating Harry's communication. Thinking quickly, she tossed a communication device to divert the Reaper's attention, a move that fortuitously worked. After several hours, Juliet cautiously threw light sticks outside the car to ensure the absence of the Reaper's presence. Feeling relatively secure, she cautiously emerged, eventually reaching the communication device. However, to her surprise, the Reaper had returned and perched atop the car. Despite the perilous situation, Juliet evaded danger once again. Upon reconnecting with Harry after fixing her radio, he suggested using light to repel the Reaper, a tactic that proved effective. Re-establishing contact with Harry, he revealed he'd traced Juliet's location through a transmitted tracker. Regrettably, due to the danger, he couldn't dispatch a rescue team until morning, an announcement that left Juliet frustrated and angered. Left to fend for herself, Juliet heard a passing vehicle and promptly honked, desperately signaling for help. Shortly after, a group approached Juliet, but to her shock, they were cannibals. One of the men attempted to forcefully pull her out of the car until the Reaper intervened, killing the man. The other cannibals fled in fear as the Reaper devoured their comrade. Though hesitant, Juliet recalled Jack's final message, fueling her determination to fight for survival. In her last attempt, Juliet retrieved 2 jerry cans of fuel and ignited a flare stick, luring the Reaper closer. As the Reaper approached, Juliet directed it toward the jerry cans, causing an explosion. Unfortunately, the Reaper evaded the blast, prompting Juliet to face the creature once more. Oddly, the Reaper refrained from harming Juliet, using its strength to drag her. Sensing an opportunity, Juliet fired at close range, causing both of them to lose consciousness. As the sun rose the next morning, the wounded Reaper remained alive, bearing a gunshot wound. With no bullets left, Juliet felt compelled to surrender. Bracing herself, she awaited the Reaper's approach. Surprisingly, when the creature gently touched Juliet's face, a realization struck her. It was Jack. His tender gesture mirrored an act he'd done in the past, aiming to make Juliet smile. Throughout, Jack had been trying to remain with Juliet, retaining his feelings despite his monstrous form. In a poignant flashback sequence, Juliet recollected moments from their first meeting to their parting. In this poignant moment, Juliet finally confessed her love for Jack. Placing the weapon down, she intended to put an end to everything.